Those were really good talks. Doug, Don, many of your words will stay with me forever. Thank you. Beautiful. And I want to thank Vanderbilt, Marcia, Pam, team, for giving me the privilege and the honor of being here and giving this talk. This is the first time in my professional career I've written a speech. I've given a speech many times. I've had PowerPoints and slides. I've had outlines and key words. But because Lynn used every word she spoke so thoughtfully, so carefully, and with such precision, I knew I would have to write this speech. I have this great honor of reflecting on the extraordinary life and scholarship and lasting influence of Lynn Fuchs, who we all agree is one of the most transformative figures in the history of learning disabilities and special education. Lynn Fuchs was undeniably kind, considerate, generous with her support, gentle with her feedback, and shockingly accepting of others, both their work and their character. Why then are we all scared to death to ask her to respond to any of our research ideas, have her read our papers, or talk to her about our ideas? Why do we all over-prepare and over-worry about any scholarly meeting we have with Lynn Fuchs? You notice I can't use the past tense. I tried. Well, there are many reasons. One is because she is so precise about how she thinks and how she asks us to think. I'm reminded when Doug told us, I knew her mother was an amazing pattern maker and seamstress. And I had this vision when I would meet with her of her mother sewing these incredibly precise clothes perfectly. And Lynn, even just by watching, understanding the value of that kind of precision. It's also because Lynn would always do what was most important. In her way, she would say to me, "Why are you doing that?" She wasn't being critical. She really wondered why I would spend my time doing whatever idea I was pursuing. It was also because she was so deliberate and on purpose with her own work. Not just precise, but purposeful, meaningful, in that deliberate way that few of us could ever replicate. When I think of Lynn always doing what the most important thing at that time is, I'm reminded of a PCRC meeting in which Doug and Lynn were presenting to a packed room, as they always did. And in the middle of the presentation, Lynn's phone rang. Anyone remember that? Doug does. And she answered the phone. Well, I just finished telling you she always did the most important thing at that time. Well, she had lost her credit card, and they were calling about it. And the most important thing was to take that call. Of course. Of course. I was an assistant, untenured faculty member at an OSEP meeting. It was a research meeting. I was in a small group working, probably for Renee, and Lynn Fuchs was in that group with me. I found myself in this small group of researchers with Lynn, And we didn't really know each other. I may be the only person at this meeting today that either didn't graduate from Vanderbilt or work for Lynn. Well, we all worked for Lynn, so I did. But other than the fact that I was aware of all of her work and certainly knew who she was, we didn't know each other very well. We were doing very brief 5-minute descriptions of our research, and I provided a set of research studies I was doing that focused on social skills and interventions for students with learning disabilities. Lynn, in the quiet way she spoke, said, "Why would you also not look at academic outcomes?" She sounded uncritical. She sounded helpful and well-intentioned. And yet, the way she said it was so relevant and so impactful, I immediately changed the study and added new measures, as we all have done many times. Lynn leaves a legacy that spans more than 4 decades of groundbreaking research, remarkable mentorship, and unwavering commitment to improving education for all students. And she really did mean all students. It's not hyperbole to say she was a scholar who redefined a field. Every one of us is a better researcher because we pass through Lynn and Doug's studies, because we look at the methodological rigor they bring and the procedures they've encouraged all of us to use. Her work fundamentally reshaped not just theory, but practice. Her scholarship addressed foundational questions about how children learn and why some struggle and what we can do about it. She had, as you all know, the pioneering work in curriculum-based measurement, and she gave schools a procedure for reliable data-driven methods. All of those things were not just practice suggestions, but well-founded and researched ideas that gave the field a foundation for future research. All of this work, it's impossible to talk about Lynn without talking about Doug. Together, they helped establish data-based individualization, advanced response to intervention, multi-tiered systems of support, transforming instruction through peer-assisted learning, and through all of the math interventions, which I won't begin to address because I know Sarah Powell will be talking about those later. So, back to her extraordinary impact. How do we know it is not hyperbole to think about her influence as being one of the most significant? Let me just give you some facts. Citations of her work: 88,000. Citations since 2021, more than 20,000. H-index, greater than 152. She had more than 1,000 works that were cited more than 10 times. They're staggering numbers. They're unprecedented and remarkable. One time, Lynn asked me, what do I think will happen to special education, specifically learning disabilities, in the next 20 years? She actually worried about the future. It wasn't just the work that she did. She cared about what would happen to students and to the discipline. Speaking of worrying, Lynn was exceedingly good at that. She seriously asked me on more than one occasion whether or not I worried that I would get fired if I was not able to procure a grant in the near future. She knew that the hard work that she put in, as Don said so clearly, was not just important, but necessary. She was fueled by it, but it what also drove her. This, if you will, enduring impact is not just about our generation. it's multiple generations. Her work does live in the systems, the tools, the practices, and every day that supports teachers and educators. However, despite that influence, she told me on numerous occasions that she did not think it was her job to make sure the work was used, just that it was high enough quality to be worthy of being used. So, back to my original question about why we all care so much about what Lynn Fuchs thinks. Because she does think, that is, in a way that very few have or will again. And because what she thinks matters. This loss belongs to Doug and her son and her grandson and grandchildren and others who have loved her for so long. But also, the loss belongs to the future of special education and is unlikely to see the likes of anyone even close. Thank you.